Hello, World Cup fans. All right, I am back as promised. Each day at the end of the third game of group play, gonna have a rundown of what took place. All right, in Group D, the United States played Turkey and lost in like the last 10 seconds of the match. All right, like the Turkey scored in the last 10 seconds of the match, and it doesn't really matter because Turkey was still going to be fourth seed and the United States still first seed. It matters for posterity. The United States lost a match that they were the first ones to score in for the first time in over 50 years, I think, and they lost the chance to win all three of their games in group play, yada yada yada. But realize the coach wasn't playing the best team he could. Okay, like Pulisic, his best player, didn't even enter the game till about 2/3 through. Okay, and that's his best score. Um, he was removing people and putting people in so that people got a chance to play in the World Cup. I can't I can't argue with this, all right? The United States had already locked up the first seed. They knew they had locked up the first seed. I'm all for the coach making sure that players that there was a high likelihood would not be able to play actually like see the pitch in the World Cup, even though they were a part of the team. I'm all for him putting them in. And if it led to a loss, it led to a loss. All right? That's okay. Isn't that right, Ghost? You can see Ghost, my cat, his tail in the background there. Um, so they lost to Turkey, and then Turkey also gets the win at the end. It's kind of like a consolation thing for them. So, like, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it was probably the best thing that could happen. All right, second seed, Australia and Paraguay tied, which meant Australia, due to game differential, ends up with the second seed. But Paraguay gets 4 points, and as I've said before, 4 points for a third place team gets you in to the group of 32. Expect Paraguay to be there. All right. So all three of those teams are probably we're going to be seeing, and they're not booking their ticket back home. On to Group E, Germany. Hey, they're the first seed with 6 points. Look, they rested the last game. Yes, they lost the last game, but kind of like the United States, they had already locked it up, and so they kind of had other goals in mind, and they weren't playing as hard against Ecuador as they could have. All right. Um, cool for them. I actually think that's a good idea. Ivory Coast locked in that second seed. After the first game, I was like, I think Ivory Coast is actually going to be the second seed. This is an alteration from my original prediction. Just like in my original prediction for Group D, I did not have Australia second, um, but after the first game, it shifted. Same thing here in Group E. I put Ivory Coast second. They got it. Good for them. They lost the tiebreaker with Germany, and that's fine. Their second seed. I think they deserve it. They deserve it. Great for them. They are one of the two, David versus Goliath stories of this World Cup. All right. And then Ecuador, which is not a David. Ecuador usually can do pretty good. Pulled off the third seed with 4 points. And once again, as I said before, if you have 4 points and you're the third seed, you're going to be in the top eight and you're going to go on. All right. And so Ecuador, we should be seeing also in the group of 32. All right. And then on to Group F. The Netherlands followed through with my predictions, and they're the first seed with 7 points. Good for them. Japan followed through with my predictions as the second seed with 5 points. They had a draw versus Sweden, which was actually kind of what I expected from that match because I knew if they drew with Sweden, Japan gets the second seed, but Sweden gets 4 points, and that's what they have. They're the third seed. They have 4 points. Um, it means they're almost definitely going into the group of 32. Now, the losers actually of today are South Korea and Scotland, okay? Because they're the third seeds from yesterday that only had 3 points. Every third seed has 4 points from today, okay? And in fact, the apparently people are so confident that 4 points will get you on that they even announced who the United States was going to face. The United States is going to face supposedly Bosnia Herzegovina, who had 4 points from yesterday. Okay. So apparently, whatever gaming out the World Cup has done, they've determined that 4 points will get you in to the group of 32, and they've pre-organized it all. I don't know if they've even published their pre-organizations. I do know they did do it. They claim they did it. I trust them on that. Which is a big leap with FIFA, because let's face it, FIFA does a lot of underhanded things. But basically, FIFA's standpoint is if you get 4 points as a third place team, you're going to be pulled up into the group of 32. And then they'll wait to see what happens with people who get 3 points. Well, after today, it doesn't look as good because we have half the groups done. Remember, four teams that are third are not going on to the group of 32, which means after we're halfway done, on average, we should have 2 of those third place teams not going on. Well, currently, those 2 teams are South Korea and Scotland. And that doesn't bode well for them. They need to hope for some low point, third point people in the second half of the group games. So that's what we have so far. I'm not going to go into tournament seeding and stuff like that. That I'm going to wait till the bracket is completely filled out. And let's face it, we can't fill out the bracket completely until all the games are done, because like I said, there are going to be third place teams with 3 points that make it into the group of 32. All right, there will be. There just aren't that many with 4 points. There are not going to be 8 third place teams with 4 points. So we got to wait and see for the entire bracket, and then that gives me a chance to make predictions. But that's our update for the second day of the third games of group play. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about day 3 as well. Enjoy the games.